welcome back to the Merck Method, where we explore mental wellness, growth, and the human experience. I want to just thank everybody for coming and listening to the podcast today. If this is your first time listening to the Merck Method, I appreciate it. Welcome. And if it's not, I appreciate you coming back. So I want to just touch on a couple of things, especially from the growth of the last episode, Good Friends, Great Laughs. I want to just give my thanks to everyone who allowed that episode to grow so quickly. Without you, the Merck method really doesn't exist. I mean, I came up with the concept, but without you really buying into the system and really following the Merck method, there wouldn't be a Merck method. So I appreciate all of you for coming and listening to each and every one of these episodes. And I'm telling you, it's growing and it's growing quickly. So it's awesome. But again, it's all because of you guys. And I greatly appreciate all of you. So I was at Meg's Daily Grind. And if you don't know, if you don't live in the Rockford area, Meg's Daily Grind is a local coffee shop that usually I go through the drive-through maybe a couple of times a week before work. Meg's, the specific Meg's, is on 1141 North Alpine Road in Rockford, Illinois. You need to go check it out. So the basic thing that I can compare the Meg's Daily Grind to is like Cheers, but with coffee. And the reason that I compare it to that, I went in there kind of on a whim right before I was going to work. And actually, I was going to a doctor's appointment before this, and then I had to head out of town. So I had I had about an hour and a half to burn, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go in, get my coffee this time, and kind of just sit and relax for a little bit and, collect my thoughts for the morning. And when I did this, I was probably in there for a good 2 minutes. And I sat down, and this sweet little old lady came over to give me a hug, and really for no reason. And she just smiled at me, and I still have that smile just resonated in my brain. And then she just walked away and went to go sit down. And come to find out that that sweet little old lady had dementia. And ironically enough, the same exact day was the day that my grandmother had passed. So, it was kind of like a little shout out to my grandmother. So it was very, very sweet to me in my mind. And the thing that stood out to me was there is a lady that works at Meg's, and I was watching this kind of unfold. Everybody was coming in one by one as, the morning progressed, and she was so positive to all these people and really was just lightening their day up, telling them, they look great, that she knew their order already. She just was all over the place, just a bundle of light for these people. And she had come over and said something to me about, it was sweet of humoring that lady. And I had to tell her how sweet it was that she was and how positive it was, how she was handling herself with all these people coming in and how nice it was and how much of a difference it makes. And that just really started the conversation about her trying to uplift people for the day. And she even got into a little bit of a story about, she was missing her dad and how she got signs that are now hearts that for him basically saying, he's around, he's okay. And we actually kind of shared a moment where I told her, I said, I look for signs all the time. I look for signs that you're in a spot for a specific reason for somebody who was struggling or who just needed an uplifting, just boost for that day. Maybe it's the same thing, but for yourself. It's not irony. It's the plan is already set in motion and we're in places for a reason for that period of time. And it just depends on how long you're in that spot. Maybe it's only for that moment, maybe it's for a while, but we're there for a reason. And that whole twist of fate that I walked in and went in and watched this unfold and how she came and gave me a hug. Then I had this conversation with her about her dad, and we got into the conversation about what I do for a living. And she said that, you have a heart all in your own with people who work in hospice. That is true. We're built a little different. If you've been in it a while, it takes a special person. It's rough. But at the same time, she was able to talk about her dad, and it was awesome. And it's just those moments are just, those you keep those in your back pocket, right? And I shared the story with a bunch of people, and that story uplifted other people. And see, that's all it takes. Those moments can change somebody's day in an instant. And that's what this lady was doing. She was changing all these people's perspectives right away in the beginning of the day and trying to start them off because who knows what the day is going to bring. But it's so nice to at least try to start the day on that positive note. And that's what she was doing with every single person that came in. And it was so amazing to watch. So she said she was going to listen to this. I hope she's listening to it because this episode is for you. And because of her, I entitled this episode The Heart of Gold. And, having a heart of gold isn't trying to be perfect or always knowing what to say to any of these people. Like she doesn't have a script when these people come in, but it's, having that caring, that genuine caring about people and just showing up, when others might not say anything or kind of run away from trying to share their feelings. A person with a heart of gold gives because it feels good to them, not because they're expecting anything in return, right? That's the key. It's just being good to people and not expecting that because if you continue to be good to people, it will return to you at some point in time. These people listen to others. They're comfort for other people, whether they know it or not. And I want you to think about something. Think about someone in your life who fits that description. I know there's somebody that you can think of right away that when you're talking to them, they instantly uplift the day you're having, or they're just there to listen, right? Maybe it's a friend who never fails to like check on you. You get that text every once in a while just asking how things are going, or just try to throw something funny in because, humor can uplift you a little bit, right away. And then they ask you kind of how you're doing. Maybe it was somebody who helped you if you had a flat tire. They were kind enough to pull over and help you. Maybe they're carrying your groceries for you. It shows up in so many different ways. Now, if you're listening to this right now, I want you to take a deep breath and ask yourself something, okay? When was the last time you were that somebody who was in the right place at the right time? Sometimes that's the simplest things, right? Just think about it, just a smile, just a text message, a quick text message, that quiet act can shift someone's whole day. It really can. I guarantee you those people that she was helping had a better day than they would have just because she started it off like that. So I want to share a story. It's a true story that ties in with what I'm talking about just being in the right place with having that heart of gold and just making a difference for people that you don't know need that difference. And sometimes it's you, right? It goes both ways. There was a male individual that I talked to a long time ago, and he was finishing his shift of work. And he had a coffee he had gotten to bring out to the car. And he went to start his car, and it wouldn't start. And in the midst of trying to mess around in the car and try to get it to go, and your frustration kicks in and you just want to go home and this and that, he spilled his coffee. So not only does his car not start, but now his coffee's all over himself. And now he's even more pissed. So he has to call for, no one would answer the phone. So he has to call for a tow. And where he worked at, there was just a place to sit because he didn't want to go in anywhere. He was kind of embarrassed. And he was just sitting on a bench. This lady sat down and she was just sitting there, and he thought it was a little awkward, to be fair. You're kind of in this angry state. You really don't want to hang out with anybody right now. But she had already been crying, and he noticed it. And I think she was trying to hide it from what it sounds like, and she just couldn't. And he ends up asking her what's wrong. Now, after a little bit of trying to slow the crying down, she ends up saying that she had just lost her dad. And it was a tough situation because he had lived with her, and she was having one of those mornings like him where nothing was going right on top of that as well. And she was doing exactly the same thing that he was doing, kind of sitting down and just sitting in the frustration, right? For her, she didn't know what was happening to him yet because he didn't share that with her. And he said he really didn't because he was there listening to her and being present for her with the struggles that she was having. And she ended up stopping the crying for a little bit to thank him. And she got picked up and left. Fast forward, he ends up getting his tow, getting a ride, and all that good stuff in between. And weeks later, she showed up to where he worked. And if you're asking, the reason that she knew where he worked was he had a outfit on that said where he worked. It was pretty obvious. I'm also not going to say where that was, but she handed him a envelope and she told him not to open it right now, but she just wanted to thank him and then she left. So he ends up opening the note when she leaves, and it was a note. It wasn't money, but it was a handwritten note from her thanking him for just being there for her and listening to her when she was in a really bad place. And she was actually at a point where she was going to end her life. That's what the note said. But because she had also asked for, a sign to kind of understand that that's not the best of choices. And for whatever reason, he happened to be sitting there. That was her sign. And she flipped her perspective, flipped the narrative, and understood it wasn't her time yet. Just because that man had a crap day and decided to sit at that bench at the right time and open his heart to someone else. It takes 2 seconds to do that. It takes no time, no effort to just be present and be open and have that heart for somebody else. And you'll never understand unless you get signs like that to how much of a difference you make for somebody else. And it just keeps going. It's amazing to watch that unfold and see those things happen in real time. And like I said, a lot of times you won't see the efforts you make, the differences you change for people and their perspective, but that doesn't mean that you should stop doing them, right? You should be kind to other people. You should open your heart to other people, especially when you feel that they are struggling. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of being human. Showing that vulnerability, showing that emotion, showing that empathy, because we're all in the same boat. We all have emotions. Some of us are better at hiding them than others. But when somebody comes and shares that they care, then you will use that to do something for somebody else, and so on and so forth. And that's what that lady was doing in Meg's. She was struggling, but it wasn't like it stopped her from working. And that's what people that when they pass, that's what happens to people. You got to kind of pick yourself up and go to work and or whatever, but you flip that pain for purpose. You use it to uplift somebody else and give them that hope. You're going to have a great day. You can get through this. You've already gotten through so much probably as it is, but just being there at the right time and just having that heart that people need. It's like I said before, life has this strange way of aligning us with people who need us, especially when they're not planning things. It's really divine timing, fate, energy, whatever you want to call it. But when your heart is open, you notice it, right? You can feel it. Sometimes you are the one who needs saving, and the kindness you give out comes right back around. Eventually, it's coming. It's easy to underestimate your own light. I do it all the time. I've had people, so many people, and it's amazing. And it's like the first time every time when they actually say nice things about like the podcast episode or the aura I bring with, and people just, you know, are magnets to me. I know it, but it's funny how it's like it's really hard to grasp. So it feels like the first time every time somebody says it, but it's so amazing to hear because it's so warming. It makes me feel good about trying to use my voice to help other people. For me, you're in that right place when things just feel like they click, right? When your instincts are just louder than logic, when helping someone feels effortless, you're bam, 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 you're just feeding off of each other. And afterward, when all this is all said and done, you feel that peace, that warmth. When I had this conversation with her, I felt great. I even went to my doctor, and one of the first things they said to me was I looked super calm and relaxed. I'm not making this up. This is exactly what he said to me, like right away. And I did. I felt amazing. How do you not want to start the day off like that? It's that power of positivity that I keep telling everybody, that changing that perspective. You got to start the day off somehow on a positive note. Because who knows what's going to bring, we're going to have IT issues at work, or somebody's going to cut you off, or you're not going to have time for lunch, or the phones are ringing off the hook and you're getting frustrated and, you want to throw your work phone across the room. You got to start on a positive and look at it and just go, you know what? It's going to be a new day tomorrow. This is going to be better. I'm going to change my perspective on it. I mean, it technically could be worse. You don't want to think of it that way, but really, you just got to understand that you're there wherever you are for a different purpose. Okay. And you have to look at it in a positive light, and you have to look at it as we're never in the wrong place. We're either there to learn or we're there to make a difference. Okay. But you have to think of it like that. Don't think of it as a negative. There's nothing wrong with learning, and there's definitely nothing wrong with making a purpose. I think that life really asks us something is just to show up. We're just there to listen. We're there to care, to let ourselves be guided to the right places and to the right people who need us the most. Just remember, when somebody's frustrated and you're listening, you were put there to listen to them. It's not about, well, what about my feelings? At that moment, you're listening to them. I just want to leave you guys with this, okay? Having that heart of gold doesn't mean you never get tired. I know it. I get tired all the time. It doesn't mean you don't struggle or fall sometimes. We fall all the time, right? But we get back up. It just means you just got to keep showing that love even when it's hard. That other person doesn't know what you're going through, and that's okay. It's about showing up for them, so in turn it comes back to you when you need it. It means you try to be the light when the world really feels dark, because a lot of times it does. But the darkness doesn't last forever. You give that grace, you give that forgiveness, you give that help. Not because you have to, because that's who you are inside. And if you're listening to this, I wish someone would do that for you. Maybe your kindness is already on its way back. Life has a beautiful way of returning what we put out into the world. Trust me, it'll come to you. Keep that heart of gold shining, okay? Keep being there for people, even when it feels small or unseen. Those small wins are wins. We need to pocket them. Sometimes the smallest moments are the most divine. I just want you to take care of yourself, okay? Love big and keep showing up. You might just be the right person in someone's life at the right time. All right, well, I don't know about you, but I feel great about that episode. That's just you being you, okay? Use your heart, make a difference. So as I leave you always, I leave you with this. Stay grounded, stay kind to yourself, and remember, strength begins with honesty. Until next time.